What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Fantasy Armchair Athletes live stream. This is your one-stop shop to out-research your fantasy opponent here in 2023 and many years beyond it. The preseason is gone and behind us, and it is extra important to fine-tune those draft strategies in this next week or so as all of you kick off your fantasy football leagues. So before we get going, put it on your to-do list tonight or tomorrow morning or whenever you can get to it to check out our most recent video. It has to do with draft strategy. It's on the 5 wide receivers you should not be drafting based on their value and average ADP. I basically based it off of what Fantasy Pros posts, and that's majority of users being on ESPN and Sleeper with Yahoo sprinkled in there as well. That is some of the deepest research we have done on a case study basis. If you don't know what I mean by that, check out the video and you'll find out relatively soon. So if you're looking for any direction here in 2023 for how to manage your fantasy football leagues and how to draft them here, starting from the beginning, you should definitely go and check that video out. It's only about 7.5 minutes, so pretty short stuff, pretty simple, but also to the point, and it gets a little complex as well, but it's well invested research. It's going to help you out a lot, I promise. We took a lot of case studies with running quarterbacks, and I'll cut it off there because I don't want to spoil it, but 5 pretty popular names that I think are being drafted way above their value, and I have plenty of research to back it up. Coming up pretty soon, something very exciting that I'm happy to announce. I draft the worst team possible, and I've been advertising it as that for a while, where I'm drafting a ton of backups, but here's the twist. I'm looking to build up a playoff team strictly through trades and free agency, and that twist is it's going to be against you guys. This is going to be the subscriber draft. If you look at the ticker down below, it says comment if you want to be included in the Fantasy Armchair Athletes subscriber draft. The first one ever is happening here in 2023. We have 2 to 3 spots left. I have one person on the fence, so we have 9 to 10 people. I want to cap it at 12. I don't want this league to get too deep. I want people to be able to go after some of that elite level talent and have a good experience. It is a free league, but yes, I am drafting all backups, and then it's up to me to try and get the best team possible and make the playoffs against all of you through waivers, through paying attention to different injuries and depth chart changes, through free agency, through trades. That's the goal. So super excited for that. We will be doing that in just the next few days. So if you want, again, as it says on the ticker there, if you want to join this subscriber fantasy football league for Armchair Athletes in 2023, comment that you want to join in the comment section below or in the live chat right now. Say, I want to join, say something of that capacity, and I will put you on the list. We'll get you set up. I'll get your information, and from there, we will get you set up for the first draft. Super excited for it. Now, a mock draft and fantasy Q&A. I've done this before. I'm going to be doing a mock draft. I might try a double hero RB strategy. It's really going to depend on how the dominoes fall. It's 10 team getting set for it here. But I'm going to try and push that just to say that, bell cow running backs in general and just people who are 3-down backs, they're at a premium right now. There's a lot of tandems in the backfield. So if you can get that talent early, I'm curious to see where I'll be in this draft as we're down to the final 2 minutes before it. That's what we'll do. But throughout this, if you have any fantasy football related questions, you've got a draft coming up, you've already had your draft, and you want my impression on how you did, you've got a trade proposal already before the season starts, maybe somebody that you could pick up and then drop off your team as well, cannot wait until we do the buy and sell videos every single week. Feel free to drop those in the comment section below, or if you just want to say what's up, do that as well. I'm here to hang out. So here is our draft, getting going relatively soon, as it's starting at 9:40. I'll have the 8th spot, so on the 1-2 turn, it'll be interesting. Again, thanks so much for joining if you are just getting here. I'm Corey, this is Armchair Athletes, and we are here to help you out-research your fantasy opponent in 2023. Just a minute and a half to go. Just had a draft before this, so doubleheader for me tonight. I had a 14-team standard PPR draft that went about an hour and a half, and now we're jumping into this expert 10-team standard PPR draft. I might try and do some best ball on Underdog as well. I do have a promo code. Haven't been advertising it too much. I kind of just want to grow this community and help you all out on a case-by-case basis, but we'll see what we do with that. Preseason finally done. Season starts in just under 2 weeks. Super excited for it. Bears-Packers should be interesting, right? The Bears going 3-14, getting plenty of pieces, building up the O-line, even though they are relatively hurt. Obviously, Justin Fields, a top 5 at some points fantasy quarterback option last season. And Jordan Love, the new guy, he's got some established talent behind him in A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, both top 30 running backs, one of the most efficient, productive, and just effective tandems that we have seen out of the backfield the last few years. I've said it before, these are the guys that make it work. Prey, how's it going? We're seeing Tank Bigsby go up a little bit more. He's been showing out in the preseason. Deuce Vaughn has been showing up in some of my deeper drafts. The complimentary to Tony Pollard. Draft room is open. Pray, good to see you here, man. We are doing a subscriber draft, so let me know in the comment section below right now if you want to be a part of that. There's a twist. I was talking about this before. Remember how I said, hey, I'm going to be drafting the worst fantasy football team possible, all backups, maybe one starter, and I have to make the playoffs through free agency, through waivers, through just doing my research and doing trades as well. Well, that's going to be against you guys. So pray, if you want to be a part of that and compete against me in 2023, let me know in the comment section below. I will link my Instagram for you, and you can DM me so we can get you in the pool. We'll be doing that draft in the next few days. I try and do these drafts pretty close to week 1. I'm scarred, right? I mean, way back when I saw Jordy Nelson, I believe, tear his ACL or his meniscus on a non-contact injury in week 1 of preseason, and I had already had my team drafted, and since then I stay away from it. So we are at pick 8. Hopefully some of these autos come off. I'm sure they will. Just 20 seconds out. Otherwise, we got a decent amount of humans in here. I'm not going to force it, but double hero RB could be the move if I end up getting Bijan or Saquon, and then on the turn I can get Pollard and Chubb. That could be dangerous. Then I'm going to have to take my medicine and wait, and I probably won't get any wide receiver talent until Jalen Waddle or DK Metcalf or T. Higgins are up on the board. I could also stretch out and just get my elite level quarterback in Jalen Hurts as well. I'm going to queue him up. I always like to do that. Josh Allen's been top 3 in the entire league in fantasy on a points per game basis over the course of the last 3 years. So we'll get him as well. Jefferson, Eckler, Chase. Pretty chalky so far. And then these 3 are auto, so that's kind of going to suck. But I'm thinking, I've been taking Saquon over Bijan. I love the fact that Bijan Robinson is, I almost got Travis Kelce there. I love the fact that Bijan Robinson is the best prospect we've seen over the course of the last decade. He's getting a lot of Saquon Barkley comparisons. I've been telling people this. If Saquon Barkley, with his route running, pass catching ability, and Derrick Henry had a baby, it would be Bijan Robinson. But I'm going to go with the established back here. New York didn't go out and get a whole lot of weapons outside of Darren Waller and I guess Paris Campbell. So I'm going to go there. And I'm very tempted to go double hero RB here. We'll see. Because I also wouldn't mind getting CeeDee Lamb on the turn. Although if I can get Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley, that'd be a pretty good start. Someone just jumped for Chubb. Bijan went behind him. Again, folks, any questions you have at all related to fantasy football? Did you just draft? Do you have a trade that you want to propose? Are you looking to grab somebody off of waivers? You just let me know. I mean, Derrick Henry just gets so many rushes. This is a quick one. I'm going to go with the youth of Tony Pollard and the pass catching upside. He was averaging over 5 yards a carry last year. Call me crazy. Call me what you want. There goes Garrett Wilson. It's a 10-team draft, so I honestly think I'll be able to sit back and still get some decent wide receiver talent. Chris Olave, somewhere in that range, is probably going to fall to me. But if people start going wide receiver heavy and Olave is off the board, which he probably will be, I'm just going to go out and get Jalen Hurts. So this will be the NFC East team so far. Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, and Jalen Hurts. Not a bad option. With all the autos, it doesn't look like I'm going to get those, though. I could get lucky. We'll see. Big question marks around Jonathan Taylor, right? And he's been consistently, even in 12-team leagues, in a lot of the mocks and just regular drafts that I've been doing, he has been plummeting through the 3rd round, sometimes even in the 4th. Josh Jacobs going a lot higher now that we know he's back. There he is, mid 2 once again. Before last week, you could get him in the 3rd or 4th round. There goes Jonathan Taylor, early 3. DK Metcalf after him. JSN's injury, I feel like, helps with his upside just a tiny bit. Keenan Allen going early 3. That's a jump for me. The injuries last year, Mike Williams' involvement, obviously he could easily get poached. I might just go with the old school strategy here. I mean, some of the top talent is out of the backfield. I already have 2 running backs. I'm going to take the best player on the board. For the sake of bye weeks, I'm still taking Jalen Hurts with the rushing upside, but they both have it. Hurts, Barkley, Pollard is how we start off here. And it's going to be a quick turn. I can finally go out and get some wide receivers, and then I'll have a huge gap. If I can get Amari Cooper, I mean, he made lemonade from lemons last year with Deshaun Watson having quite literally the worst year of his career. Even if you spread it out over the course of 17 games, he was not looking good. 5 picks, a career low in completion percentage, and I would say that's a fair sample size. It's up there with his rookie year, and he wasn't even that bad at that point. We are cruising. Deebo Samuel's numbers went down significantly with Christian McCaffrey. That's something I've focused on a lot in research the last couple of days, seeing those splits. So I'm going to go Amari Cooper. And the elite level tight ends are still out there. This just went heavy autos, so I might do another one for you guys. Don't hate the team, though. I do feel that Amari Cooper is slept on. People forget he was a top 10 wide receiver last year. Obviously, the touchdown upside, big play, 14.9 yards per reception is nothing to scoff at. And if I can get Hawk here, I am a very happy camper. Hawk or Kittle, to be honest with you. Maybe Kittle because he's not injured. Hawk is younger, though. And we know that high-flying passing offense of Minnesota is going to get him involved. There's going to be plenty of attention from the defense on Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison, going to be interesting to see how he pans out. Do I need to jump for a tight end yet? Or can I get somebody else and then get him on the flip? I'm not a big fan of Rachaad White. I don't think I need a 3rd running back in Breece Hall quite yet. Deontay Johnson was top 15 last season in targets, so we're going to go with Deontay Johnson. His catch rate was horrid, but again, that's with a rookie quarterback in Kenny Pickett. Breece Hall goes after him. Gabe's here. Gabe, how's it going, man? Gabe, if you've got any fantasy drafts that have happened so far, let me know. Prey and Gabe, if you're both on here, or Max, I've seen all 3 of you in the comment section below. After you like and subscribe, let me know in the comment section if you want to join our subscriber draft. I myself am picking the worst possible team, all backups now, maybe allow myself 1 starter, and I have to try and make the playoffs through free agency and trades against all of you. So it's beat the expert style. Should be a lot of fun. Now let's go get our elite level tight end in TJ Hawkinson, going right into the middle of his prime. Super excited for that. James Cook's going to have the backfield all by himself after averaging over 5.5 yards per carry last season. Damian Harris, I feel, will have less involvement. He has been hurt in the past as well. Less involvement than Devin Singletary. But yes, the subscriber draft, we have 2 spots left. So let me know in the live chat if you would like to join that. Otherwise, if you're just here to hang out, I'm all right with that as well. We went double hero RB. Took 2 backs in the first 3 rounds. As you know, running back talent, especially in terms of guys who have the backfield all to themselves, it's at a premium right now. So I took Barkley and Pollard on the 1-2 turn. Sat back and got my elite level quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Then Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, and TJ Hawkinson fell to me. There goes James Cook right before me. Honestly, we want pass catchers, and that includes people out of the backfield. We got to ask ourselves, in terms of value, who's the best pass catcher? I love Brandon Ayuk, very high on him. I'm going to see if I can get him at the turn. Actually, I think he's the best value here. We're going to go Brandon Ayuk. That might have felt like a jump, but Javonte Williams coming off injury. Cam Akers lost his job last year, and he's on a pretty dismantled offense in LA. So we'll see how many times he gets to run. Jerry Jeudy's got an injury right now. Marquise Brown coming off injury. Tyler Lockett north of 30. Drake London in the second most heavy run offense in the league from last year, and they went out and got Bijan Robinson. So I have my reasons for taking Ayuk there. Now let's load up, get our 3 and 3. J.K. Dobbins, man. I mean, the injuries have been horrid. He's played 23 games since he was drafted in 2020. Missed all of 2021. Missed a handful of games last season. Blurpy, good to see you in here. Dynasty, do I trade Kupp and Kincaid for Zay Flowers? Oh, okay. Kupp and Kincaid or Zay Flowers for Garrett Wilson. I have the chance to draft Zay Flowers right now, but I would trade the pick with Kupp, and he's picking one of the two. I don't know if you win if Cooper Kupp is healthy for at least 3/4 of the year. Cooper Kupp has one of the best target shares, Blurby, when he's healthy in the entire league. Oh, I don't like what I see here. I'm not going to lie. We'll take the RB1. Cooper Kupp, if he stays healthy, that's going to bite you hard. Garrett Wilson, I know, is the wide receiver 1 in New York. He's going to have phenomenal chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, but I feel like you need another piece. I don't think you should package both of those. Between the two, depending on your tight end situation, maybe I go with the Bills tight end and Cooper Kupp. But if you're going to get Garrett Wilson, I want somebody else on top of that as well. It's Dynasty. That's true. I would trade the pick with Kupp, and he's picking one of the two. Blurpy, I'd still go out and try and get somebody with Garrett Wilson. Even if it's a smaller piece, right? Even if it's like a Tyler Boyd, somebody of that tier on there, I feel like it's going to be a little more even, just so you have somebody to fall back on should Cooper Kupp go off and you're going, well, all I got is this one wide receiver. Understand it's Dynasty. Maybe try and go and get another piece with that. It's basically Kupp and the 1.08 for Garrett Wilson. I mean, Garrett Wilson's been going like second, third round. Yeah, I would try and get a tiny bit more. He would pick between those two. I don't think they, let me just pick here real quick. JSN should not be out for too long. That's fine. I still think a package deal there would be good on the other end. He has Khalil Herbert. I would say go out and get Khalil Herbert. People are sleeping on Khalil Herbert. You're not going to see him go out of most drafts through the first 10 rounds. Maybe go with that. But Blurpy, just get a complimentary option. Get somebody who's underrated. If he has a Khalil Herbert, if he has, I would say Brandon Ayuk's a little too high, a Tyler Boyd, a Zay Jones, a wide receiver 3 on an elite offense or a wide receiver 2 on a middle-of-the-road offense, I feel like you're getting bang for your buck there. I understand getting rid of Kupp, especially with the injury risk, and I never wish on someone's downfall. But Blurpy, if Kupp goes down and you have Garrett Wilson and you barely gave him anything beyond that, you're winning, right? But let's get somebody else involved, just another piece to make it a 2-for-2. Not a bad deal, though, in general. Brian, good to see you again. I read the Athletics upcoming fantasy report, and it was nearly identical to your list. Great job, man. Thank you, Brian. Put in a lot of hours this week, so good to see that I'm matching up with some of those experts. DeAndre Swift falling to me in round 10, I will take. Let's queue up. You can get some trade leverage if you have a decent tight end room. I only have 2 week 10 buys, so we'll go with that. Thielen, Deontay Johnson. Thielen's an underrated pick. He's going to be the wide receiver 1, a sure-handed wide receiver, had a phenomenal career in Minnesota. I feel like that team's going to have to pass a lot. I don't see the Panthers winning a ton of games. I don't think I'm going beyond the stretch of the imagination with that one, right? So I could see Bryce Young relying on Adam Thielen a decent amount. Maybe not 1,000-yard season, but maybe 800 to 900 yards. Keep in mind, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the first pass completion of the preseason, the first pass completion of Bryce Young's career was to Adam Thielen. So Blurpy, let's go and get Garrett Wilson and Adam Thielen. I agree, Deontay Johnson, especially with his target share last year, it's asking for a bit much. Let's go get Garrett Wilson and Adam Thielen, and then you can do Kupp and one of those smaller players as well, whoever he ends up picking. Let's get some leverage there. I don't see a whole lot of talent on the board. I hate Gabe Davis with a passion in terms of his fantasy value. Yeah, Blurpy, let's go ahead and do that. Khalil Herbert or Adam Thielen. You have the running back one on a team that ran the ball 60% of the time last year. That's more than anybody we've seen in a long time. Just looked it up a little bit ago, and the last time someone threw the ball as poorly or as little as the Bears did was 2009 with the Cleveland Browns. So you're going to get somebody with heavy involvement in Khalil Herbert. And Adam Thielen, you have a sure-handed wide receiver one who's proven to be consistent with a rookie quarterback. He'll likely be good or reliable for Bryce Young. I like either of those, but definitely get somebody with Garrett Wilson. And I think you have yourself a deal. Let's go get another weapon here. We'll go Nico Collins. That team's going to be a dumpster fire this year, but Robert Woods is the wide receiver one, so I'm comfortable with Nico Collins maybe taking over. He did have a decent second half of his year last season. He has Gallup too, but Gallup isn't the wide receiver one in the Cowboys offense, right? So then I guess you kind of have to ask yourself, Blurpy, do I want, a wide receiver two in a good offense or a wide receiver one in a poor offense? We are going to see the Panthers pass a lot in the second half this year because I don't think they're going to win a ton of games. As horrible as the NFC South is, the Panthers are not loaded with talent. Even with that number one overall pick, they dealt a lot. Obviously, DJ Moore is gone. They waived CMC as well. Speaking of the man, the myth, the legend, I think I'm going to take Adam Thielen, a wide receiver one in a poor offense over a wide receiver three in a good offense. We've still got more involvement here, I think. That was him as the two, and he nearly matched Boyd. Thielen's 33, but he's one of those guys who takes care of his body. If you want to go with Gallup, though, I mean, you have somebody in a better offense who's younger. He has struggled a little bit with injury, but I think with Michael Gallup, Blurpy, you do have more upside. So let's push for Garrett Wilson and Michael Gallup for Cooper Kupp and basically the 1.08. Yeah, I think that's fair. We've got more stability here. Kadarius Toney has had his fair share of injury issues. I sat way back. Way back on defense this time, but honestly, no one was really jumping at it. It's a lot of autos, too. I'm going to queue up the Cowboys, one of the best scoring defenses last year. I mean, look at all those interceptions and fumble recoveries, right? Micah Parsons is a disruption. Trayvon Diggs as well. Say what you want about how he gets blown out of the water on some routes. He gets you fantasy points. But Blurpy, yeah, I like Michael Gallup and Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson can have pretty much, I don't want to say close, but up there in the same zip code as Cooper Kupp in terms of target share. Remember, Rodgers did bring some of his old friends over, Allen Lazard. Not too worried about Randall Cobb. There's Tyler Conklin there as well. And then a pass catching back in Breece Hall if he stays healthy. Whereas on the Rams, it's pretty much just Cooper Kupp. But Cooper Kupp has to stay healthy. And so far, we've seen Garrett Wilson be fine. So that could pan out very well for you, even if Cooper Kupp stays healthy. At least you've got a somewhat stable option behind him in Michael Gallup, as long as he stays healthy. The best kicker in the game. The best fantasy kicker in the game, I should preface. High-scoring offense. This team kicks more field goals, though. I know for a fact. Not a bad mock. A quick mock. A 30-minute mock. My tight ends are Njoku, Komet, and Schultz, so don't really need... Yeah, you don't really need him. Zay Flowers would be nice to have with Amon-Ra, but I could have Wilson and Amon-Ra. I think Wilson and Amon-Ra is obviously way more deadly, so if you do pull the trigger on this deal, you're getting more upside from the wide receiver one in Garrett Wilson. You got to remember, Garrett Wilson had 1,100 yards with Mike White, Zach Wilson, Chris Streveler, and 2022 Joe Flacco throwing to him. So I think a future Hall of Famer, albeit he is about to turn 40, and Aaron Rodgers is going to do well. Jeb, good to see you in here. Just finished a 10-man league draft. Standard. Okay. How is my roster looking? So we're looking for more volume as opposed to pass catching upside. Just raw yards. These are my starters. Justin Fields, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, Chris Olave, Travis Kelce, and Montgomery. Also have Kamara after the suspension. Okay. I like it a lot. I mean, Justin Fields, obviously, I think we're guaranteed to get top 7, top 8 stuff out of him, even with more weapons than DJ Moore, because we have to remember, while he might throw the ball more than he would run it this time of year, I mean, he ran it for 1,100 yards last season. I think we're still going to be okay, because in theory, have more time in the pocket. Darnell Wright's back there. Tevin Jenkins, hopefully if he can get healthy, he just strained both of his calves in practice, so I want to keep an eye on that. Ramondre Stevenson, outside of the touchdown upside, I'm not too worried about Ezekiel Elliott being in there, so I like that a lot. He's a elite pass catcher. He's starting to get into that range. Obviously very young too. Same thing with Najee Harris. We haven't seen the efficiency so far. He's yet to have a season, albeit he's only 2 seasons in, where he's averaged 4 yards per carry. But the thing with Najee Harris is he is also an elite pass catcher, and he's got a quarterback going into his sophomore year, still starting to gain his confidence in Kenny Pickett. I could see him being good old reliable as well. Devontae Adams, you have a top 3 wide receiver in terms of talent in the league. He is around 30 now, but that's okay. Chris Olave, same story as Garrett Wilson that I just mentioned with Blurpy's situation. Chris Olave had 1,100 yards last season, and it wasn't the best quarterback play. I'm not saying that Derek Carr is leaps and bounds better than what the Saints had last year, but I think at least we'll have some stability as long as he's healthy. I don't see Derek Carr losing his job, knock on wood. You got the best dang tight end in the entire league by 5 points per game over the course of the last 3 seasons in Travis Kelce. I love it very much. Dave Montgomery, pass catching upside as well. He should complement Jahmyr Gibbs nicely. We saw DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams work well. Jeb, 10-man standard draft. That is an awesome team. I love it. And Kamara, after the suspension, that should be fine. Would not hate it. It's a 10-man league. I don't know if he's available. Jeb, I would not hate it if you go out and maybe take the bottom person on your bench, I don't know who that is, and swap them for Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara could be a phenomenal handcuff situation this year, especially with Jamal Williams being the RB1 in New Orleans over the course of the first 3 weeks. Blurpy says, I'm struggling trading Hurts and Allen. It's not a super flex league. A few teams need a QB, and I'm trying to trade either one away. I would love to trade one for an RB2, and it's not a super flex league. I mean, don't go beyond your boundaries. Some people are just not willing to make trades. I've been in those leagues, Blurpy, multiple times. Don't push it too much. You've still got, I mean, you do have 2 phenomenal quarterbacks, so there's no need for it. Jeb, no problem, man. I hope you're doing well. If you have any other questions regarding your team throughout the year, I live stream 3 to 4 times a week. I'm doing videos pretty much every other day. We're starting to get on that consistent grind. But Jeb, anytime you have a question, if I'm not live, find any of my videos, drop a comment in there. I'm super good at getting back to people within the next few hours. So thanks so much for stopping in. Yeah, Blurpy, you've got a lot of talent at quarterback there. You've got some leverage. Go find the person with the worst quarterback and maybe try and get something out of them like a Jahmyr Gibbs, like a Najee Harris, something of that nature. Yeah. I've done that before with tight ends, and I kind of did that here as well. Going to get 2 top 15 tight ends because of Pat Freiermuth, or because a Juwan Johnson's going to drop so much that maybe we do get the deal out of it. But you'd be shocked at how stubborn people are before the year starts in terms of taking trades. The best offer I got was Allen and 2 firsts for Waddle, and I didn't like that. No, that is especially in Dynasty, right, with the 2 firsts involved, that is a clear ripoff. Jalen Waddle, Blurpy, as you know, is working with a quarterback who had 2 of the scariest injuries we had seen in all the NFL over the course of the last few years, so I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not even sure if I would do Allen and a first for Waddle. Josh Allen has been top 3 in the quarterback conversation, and not even in the conversation, Josh Allen has been a top 3 fantasy quarterback in standard PPR over the course of the last 3 years. He's arguably the most consistent, solid, top-tier option, right? It's him, Hurts, and Mahomes. For Waddle? For the wide receiver too? Albeit Hill will be gone soon. Yeah, you've got to get more than that. Either get more on the other end or shave. I don't even know if you want Allen and a first. This early in the season, I have a hard time throwing draft picks in there because we don't really know the fate of the season. Now, if you're making a playoff push and you need to win 2 of your next 3 or something like that, or you got to run the table and you think it's feasible, maybe. I'm looking to do Allen for Eckler straight up. Well, you do have the quarterback surplus, so obviously if you have Jalen Hurts and you can just get Eckler straight up, that's fine too. Maybe start out with Allen and the worst player on your bench just to see. That way they feel like they're getting a deal as a 2-for-1 and both sides benefit with a little bit of depth. Brian says, Blurpy, only trade Allen for a good running back. Hurts has the flex of being a running and passing QB. Exactly, right? So if you can combine an Austin Eckler with Jalen Hurts, I mean, you might have yourself a league-winning team just from that information alone. You could have 50 points a game or close to it with the rushing upside of Hurts. Yeah, you've got two of the best quarterbacks in the game for fantasy football, so you're in a pretty good spot. Let's go back here and remock. And keep shooting those questions in, folks. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're getting any value out of the answers, out of the feedback. And let's do another one. A 20-team draft. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've done more than 18. That would be interesting. I mean, these are some very interesting setups here. I want something at 10-10. Not too worried about the label, to be honest. I'm just kind of trying to see where the dominoes fall. And we'll be first overall. That'll be interesting. Hurts is younger. I would rather trade Josh Allen, and people in my league like Josh Allen more, and I did trade Mixon for ETN straight up. With you getting ETN, I like it because you have more youth with ETN. Obviously, we know the shelf life of the running backs. That's why we have so many tandems in the league. Isn't the best. We're seeing more of those tandems to try and make sure that you got somebody around until they're 30, 31, 32 years old, not named Frank Gore, who was just different. So I like the youth in ETN. We'll see what Tank Bixby does, but yeah, that's not bad. Brian says, I wonder in a 10 to 12 team league if it's worth partnering up some players together. Hurts, A.J. Brown, Khalil Herbert. Yeah, Justin Fields. Those stacks are really phenomenal. It's interesting that you bring up Khalil Herbert and Justin Fields, right, Brian? And I do love that a lot because if we look at the prevalence of the run. So we've got 2 minutes before this next mock. Again, thank you all so much for joining the stream tonight. Folks, I am doing a subscriber draft, and I'm mixing it up with the idea I had where I draft the worst team possible. I'm drafting the worst team possible. I'm taking a crap ton of backups, and then I'm going to try and make the playoffs against you through free agency and trades. So, folks, if you want to join that league and you haven't already, let me know in the live chat, and we'll get you set up. We have 2 spots left. It's going to be 12 teams, standard PPR, free. You just have to try and take down somebody who's drafting a horrible team. Pretty simple to me. Chicago ran the ball more than anybody else. That's why I love the stack of the running back 1 on the Bears in Khalil Herbert and Justin Fields. And the part I love the most is game script-wise, it makes no sense, right? Chicago had no business being the most run-heavy offense in the league. A team like the Eagles did because they won so much and they could run down the stretch. And they had that offensive line. Chicago had a lot of complaints in the offensive line department, specifically with pass blocking and with Justin Fields getting rid of the ball in time. They lost 14 games, and they still ran the ball more than anybody else. That's pretty cool. So I like the Khalil Herbert, Justin Fields stack. And the cool thing with Khalil Herbert is he's falling so much, you can wait around for him for a while. Brian says, problem is, how likely are you to get those players? Slim to none. I mean, there's a sizable gap, Brian, between Khalil Herbert and Justin Fields. If we look at ADP, or average draft position, Khalil Herbert is not going for a while. Khalil Herbert is going 33rd. With quarterbacks, I guarantee you Justin Fields is top 10, probably close to 6 or 7. There he is at 7. Around the 45th pick. Khalil Herbert is going around the 89th pick. You've got time. That's definitely a feasible one. It's just an interesting stack because obviously Khalil Herbert, not too much of a proven pass catcher, but the volume. The volume was there last year for a Bears team that ran the ball 60% of the time, so I think it's definitely possible. Jacob's in here. Good to see you, Jacob. You're in. I got you. You are in the league. I will put you in the subscriber league, so you'll be in the first ever Fantasy Armchair Athletes Fantasy Football League, where I am drafting a crap ton of backups and trying to beat all of you through free agency and trades. And with 12 teams, I feel like that's going to be pretty hard. First overall, so we're going to have an interesting 2-3 turn. Obviously going Justin Jefferson here. There is no way you convince me to do anything otherwise. I know running backs are at a premium, but when you have somebody who scored more than anybody else at the pass catching position in fantasy PPR, it's not a hard decision for me. He was flirting with 2,000 yards last year. And he didn't have a whole lot of touchdowns, to be honest. Tino's in here. What's up, Tino? Tino, we are doing a subscriber draft that I will be tracking on this channel. So if you want to join, let me know in the live chat below. I am drafting the worst possible fantasy football team. I'm taking all backups. This is 30 seconds. Good. I'll take Jay Jetta first overall. I am taking all backups in this draft. I have to make the playoffs the hard way. And I'm trying to prove to all of you that you could have your definition of a horrible draft and still do well. I'm going to grind out some wins against you guys with a pretty bad team, because I'm going to go out there, I'm going to be active, I'm going to make sure that I understand what the good, effective handcuff running backs are, and it's not going to be a secret. I'll be releasing videos on it as well, so you guys will have all the research that I'm doing at your disposal, and you're going to have a much better team than me. I'm probably going to have some gross projected score of like 40, 50, 60 for my first week, and I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to capitalize on injuries. I'll be first in waivers probably, so there's that. For a bit. I'm going to spin some deals. I'm not going to mess anybody over. You'll get value out of my crap team. Yes, Tino, this is the one we're talking about. I'm drafting the worst team possible, and I decided to do it against all of you. So I thought we'd make it a hybrid, a little 2-in-1. I'm in a lot of drafts anyway, so this kind of helps me as well. But I think it'd be interesting to draft the worst team possible against my subscribers and try to prevail. And this is something I'll do a lot of coverage with. I'll live stream. Keep everybody posted on how this journey's going. I could go 2-12. But I could also go 7-7, 8-6, and squeak in. But yes, Tino, this is the one we were talking about. Brian, I wish stacking wasn't a big gamble. It is, but it isn't if you have those sizable gaps like a Justin Fields and Khalil Herbert. I see a lot of people doing A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts on the 2-3 turn. I like that a lot, depending on the size of your league. Sometimes A.J. Brown gets jumped for. But typically, you're able to get A.J. Brown. See, he's projected 18th there. You go down a little bit. There's Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, the magical 3. Beyond that, you got to stretch a little bit. I'll be honest with you. Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence is possible. You could get Ridley in about the 4th, maybe 3rd. And then Trevor Lawrence isn't going to go for a few rounds. But yeah, I mean, if that offense gets shut down, you're in for it, buddy. That's why typically just those high caliber offenses like the Philadelphia Eagles, like the Kansas City Chiefs with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, like soon to be the Jacksonville Jaguars, Those are the ones we want to gamble on. Tino says, remember I made it at 6-8 last year. Oh yeah, you got the last spot and won the league. I do remember that, Tino. So it is possible. I am intentionally drafting a bunch of backups, so we'll see how this goes. But I'm super excited. It's going to challenge me. It's going to challenge all of you. I hope, at least. I hope you don't just run over me and beat me by 40 points every week. A.J. Brown. Oh, my. I know he's not going to fall, but in a 10-team format, I would have been pretty dang close to taking A.J. Brown, and there he goes. And Jalen Hurts. Amon-Ra St. Brown going above him. Josh Jacobs, middle 2 now that he committed. I feel like he's almost overvalued now. But just my opinion. And folks, if you have not already, speaking of drafting, which we're doing right now, I did just drop a video on 5 wide receivers that you should avoid. Their ADP is way too high for my liking for very good reason. We did some in-depth research on various case studies to show you why these wide receivers are overvalued and could ultimately mess you over if you take them over somebody else surrounding them in these projections. They're little landmines that could really screw up your season, and I break down why. So 5 wide receivers, put that on your to-do list once we get off this live stream after this mock draft, or tomorrow morning when you're walking the dog. Watch that 7.5-minute video. It will do you wonders. I'm going to take the wide receiver one here. JSN's down with injury. I thought about Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts, but I'm really interested to see what that revamped backfield, which I feel like improved with DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny if it stays healthy. Curious to see how it does. Do I take Josh Allen, who's been top 3 in the league the last couple of years? It's going to be a rough week 13. There's not much of a gap in talent there, so I am going to take Jalen Hurts. Cameron, good to see you in here, man. Would you mind letting me know what you think of my 14-team full PPR squad? Cameron, we're here to answer questions. You pop that right in the chat, and I'll let you know. I'll break it down as thorough as I can. Brian, I hate bragging, but if I didn't have consistent tight end issues, I would have been 11-3. That's not bragging, man. That is fantasy football at its finest. We're always just a few injuries away from having a phenomenal season, and that's the frustrating but beautiful part about it. It's unpredictable. And again, folks, if me answering your questions or giving you feedback or just running through a mock to show you the value of what's going on right now and answering any of your questions along the way helps you, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Trying to get to 700. We are on the journey, and all of your support is greatly appreciated. Josh Allen's fallen a little bit. There he goes. Joe Mixon and Najee Harris before him. I'm pretty far down on Najee Harris and Joe Mixon. More so Joe Mixon because of the age factor, but you have a pair of inefficient running backs who have the pass-catching upside. With Joe Mixon, I feel like that's going to go down in the next couple of years. I mean, he's got to be nearing retirement. Because Joe Mixon entered the league before we saw a ton of these tandem back systems. I mean, Samaje Perine supported him a decent amount last year, but we never really saw, I guess, Giovanni Bernard for a bit. We never saw someone take a whole lot of workload off of Joe Mixon to really take the miles off his tank, so I'll be interested to see. No problem, Cameron. Joe Burrow, Bijan Robinson, Javonte Williams, Devontae Smith, Drake London, Dallas Goedert, Zay Flowers. Bench is Brian Robinson Jr., Elijah Moore, Zach Charbonnet, Jalen Warren, Zay Jones, and Marvin Mims. That is an underrated pick at the end, my friend. You've got a top 5 quarterback in the entire league. I said this in my quarterback rankings video that I dropped about a week ago. I don't care that Joe Burrow got hurt in the preseason and was maybe going to miss a week. The production you're going to get out of him the other 16 out of 17 weeks is beyond worth it. Bijan Robinson, bro, we've got one of the best prospects out of the backfield in the last decade. People are comparing him to Saquon Barkley. I've been saying if Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, the route tree, catching ability, and just bulldozer mentality, if those two had a baby, it would be Bijan Robinson. That's my argument there. Javonte Williams, we've got some pass catching upside, but we did have the season-ending injury last season, so we're going to need some support there. I see you've got that on the back end with some handcuffs. Devontae Smith, he's the volume guy, right? I mean, he did phenomenal in his rookie season before Jalen Hurts was really polished, and now Jalen Hurts is polished. They've got A.J. Brown, and it still hasn't taken away from his output. Drake London, a little bit worried about because he was in the second most run-heavy offense in the league last year. I mean, Atlanta ran it 57% of the time, they were only behind the Chicago Bears, and then they go out and get Bijan. I'm not sure if that's going to be an effective stack. I feel like Bijan and Drake London both being well into the double digits won't happen too often. But again, I could be wrong. It's just a matter of Drake London really breaking away and winning a lot of those 50-50 balls. Spoiler alert, he is in one of my most recent videos, and his 4.54 40-yard dash concerns me a little bit, especially with the run-heavy offense, but not the worst pick in the world. Still some upside. It's only been a year. Dallas Goedert, phenomenal, consistent, top 10 the last 3 years. Love it. Zay Flowers, that offense needs some love, and hopefully he's a leading factor. Rashad Bateman has been hurt a lot the last couple of years. Bench is B-Rob Jr. I like it a lot. He is the feature back over Antonio Gibson. Still looking for a little more efficiency from him, but we saw that back half of the last season. Elijah Moore, I'm just glad Elijah Moore has a new home. I mean, he was just begging to get out of there, and I find it really ironic that when they finally let him go and got him out of that quarterback situation, they gave Aaron Rodgers Elijah Moore's number. Zach Charbonnet picked in the second round. The question is, how much is he going to be used with Kenneth Walker III? Kenneth Walker III, Cameron, didn't catch a whole lot of passes last year. He was mainly a volume back on the ground, so I think we have an opportunity there with Charbonnet. Jaylen Warren, if he can be more efficient, the more efficient he is, the more touches he'll get. Najee Harris is averaging 3.8, 3.9 yards per carry in his 2-year career so far. Zay Jones is in a loaded but productive offense. I think he'll be well. Marvin Mims, plenty of opportunity with, we just saw it, Jerry Jeudy went down. Top to bottom, man, 14 team. Cameron, that is an awesome team. Hope you enjoyed the breakdown there. Blurpy, what do you think of my team? Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Tucker. The bench is Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson, Amon St. Brown, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, Olave, and Etienne. Only projected 151.1. I feel like you're trolling me, man. That is a phenomenal team. Lots of first-round talents, dare I say it. Let's go get our backfield. Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended a couple of weeks, but there is a significant drop-off in production. Not a big fan of Carolina's offensive line. I think we take Kamara here. Madison has not been efficient in the small sample size we've seen. Kenneth Walker III could see a decent drop-off with Charbonnet. I'm actually going to take James Cook, who's got the backfield to himself. Call me crazy. There are our running backs in this quote-unquote dead zone. I feel like we made it work pretty decent there. I didn't want to go too far. I hate the zero RB strategy, that's for sure. Okay, 3-man league. That makes a lot of sense, Blurpy. I was like, I just kept reading first-rounders. Yeah, that's phenomenal. When you can get arguably the best running back this season on multiple occasions, I feel like Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Bijan Robinson, or Saquon Barkley all have fair shots at it. You got the best wide receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson, best tight end in the league in Travis Kelce. Justin Tucker and Daniel Carlson are 1A, 1B pretty much in terms of fantasy output. Josh Jacobs could even be up there too. We saw a lot of volume with him last season. And the thing with Josh Jacobs, I did a YouTube short on this a while ago before the offseason. I mean, this guy was averaging 2.5 yards before contact, well outside of the top 50 in the league, yet he still exploded for over 1,500 yards. A lot of those yards were yards after contract. They were big boy yards, and he thrived. Alrighty, we are in round 5 of 16. We got the first overall pick, so there's going to be some gaps for sure. Went Justin Jefferson, and then on the turn, Metcalf and Hurts. We came back around. We're going to take the 3-game suspension with Alvin Kamara and James Cook. It just means I need more depth here, but I honestly think the output that we could get from Alvin Kamara is going to be just fine. Might have been a bit of a wild take. Matt just did my first Dynasty draft. Matt, let me know how it went, man. Dynasty's a ton of fun. Really keeps you focused on the game 12 months out of the year because someone might be trying to deal something in terms of picks. Things get real interesting down the stretch when someone's pushing for a playoff run and they're starting to poach off of people who are bottom of the league and are willing to kind of trade for their future. So, fun stuff there. I'm going to get another running back on the turn because obviously someone has to fill in for Kamara. Not the smartest thing I could have done there, but I just opted for the raw talent. That just kind of dictates my future moves. I'll sit back on Pat Freiermuth for sure. 5th in the league in tight end targets per game at 6.5 last season. Folks, we are almost at 10 likes on the stream. Thanks so much for your support. Again, on your to-do list for tonight, I just put out a video this morning, or earlier this afternoon, of 5 wide receivers you should not draft based on their fantasy football value and based on where they're going in fantasy drafts right now. Threw a lot of case study research in there. It's only 7.5 minutes, so hopefully it can help you out. Whether you watch that once we get off stream tonight or tomorrow morning. And number 1 is going to shock some people, that's for sure. Definitely someone who... Has he gone in this draft already?
I hear it now. Hold on, I got to get back here.
He has.
There's a bag by the TV you can smash it with. Pick it up with the bag.
Matt says, it went all right. I got some cool rookies and young guys, but now some solid players as well for the time being. Congrats, man. Yeah, hope it goes well. Dynasty, you got to be paying attention, around the clock. Right after my draft for Dynasty last week, people are spinning trades like 20 minutes post-draft. Pretty crazy stuff. Freiermuth is the top option, so we're going to go with him. When we get back-to-back, we get that luxury. I'm going to take Brandon Ayuk, who I believe is taking over the wide receiver 1 spot in San Francisco due to the increased involvement and the fact that Christian McCaffrey kind of takes a chunk out of the usage of Deebo Samuel. Cameron says, thanks for the solid breakdown. Pretty excited about the potential upside on some of the younger pieces. Anytime, man. I'm here to do breakdowns. I'm here to look at your situation, give you advice on trades. I have been mocking way more than is probably good for my health. So I've seen the way a lot of different pieces have fallen. Is London on one of those 5 do not drafts? Cameron, you're going to have to go and see, but I think you're onto something there. Cameron, if you enjoy the breakdowns, we do live streams 3 to 4 times a week. There's a new YouTube video out pretty much every other day for the whole season. And then YouTube Shorts out on close to a daily basis. We'll have another one out tomorrow. So we've got the whole 9 yards for you. If you enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Always here to answer your questions. Matt, it's a 1-quarterback dynasty league, but it was 20 rounds, so I went out and got 2. Not bad, Matt, unless you have like an elite level quarterback. Unless you have an elite level quarterback, like a Jalen Hurts, a Patrick Mahomes, or a Josh Allen. Not too much of a need to get a backup, but in 20-round drafts, I'm cool with it. The well runs dry after a bit. Matt says, I hope Deebo isn't on the list. I'm not saying anything. You gotta go and look. But yeah, both of you are investigating, that's for sure. Jahan Dotson goes N7, Evan Ingram as well, Michael Pittman. And again, the options in there, they're not horrible people. Like, they're not horrible players who are just going to entirely ruin your season. But what I am saying is by picking these 5 wide receivers where they've been valued, because they'll go earlier if you don't, you could be missing out on some alternative talent. And I'm just seeing them go way above where they should be valued at, considering their current situations. Age could be a part of it. Run-pass ratio for the team could be a part of it. Competition within the team in terms of skill position players could be a part of it. There's a variety of things. And it could cause you to miss out on some other opportunities. But again, that's what the waiver wire, that's what free agency, and that's what trades are for as well. But you save yourself a headache by not drafting those 5. Unless they just plummet far below their ADP. We've got our strong 7. Because I have back-to-backs, maybe I go out and get my defense here, but I really just want to get the strongest flex possible Sometimes I'll go out and get 2 tight ends for trade leverage. Obviously, this is a mock, so we're talking hypothetical. Don't love what's on the board right now, to be honest with you. Treylon Burks is already questionable, so he might be back sooner than we thought. I expect a lot more output out of him. He had the best average yards of separation per route metric of any involved wide receiver last year. He was beating Robert Woods by a country mile. And he just went off the board. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is there, but Hopkins is surely up there in age. Zay Flowers in this new offense. I'm thinking about it. Do I play the Michael Thomas game again? It's getting pretty old. I'm not going to lie to you folks. I don't know the last time I've played the Michael Thomas game. Odell with the injury. Let's take the young gun. Again, folks, we have a couple of spots left for our subscriber draft. I am going against you. The Achilles heel for me, I pick a ton of backups. My whole draft is going to be backup players. I have to try and get into the playoffs and beat all of you through free agency, through trades, and through picking people up at the right time, getting handcuffs. Should someone go down, then I get the top option on the team. Matt says, am I able to send you my team to see what you think? Absolutely, Matt. Send that team over. I would love if Jamal Williams fell to me. He's a top 3 flex right now, so I'm not sure he will. Especially with the autos built in. Some solid quarterbacks here going possibly in the 10th round. Kirk Cousins, just sheer volume. Daniel Jones, rushing upside. Both top 10 quarterbacks who I feel aren't talked about nearly enough, and I'm fine with that. They're operating under the radar. Did not mean to do that. The rushing upside is there. Holy cow. The attempts doubled. Daniel Jones was healthy. The most important part, he didn't turn the ball over. He had 3 turnovers all year. Or 7, excuse me. Six. Holy cow. 5 interceptions and 1 fumble lost. I promise I can read. I promise I can read. But yeah, folks, send those teams over that you just drafted. If you have any trade proposals, send those as well. We just hit 10 likes. Thank you so much for the support. If the advice or overviews I'm giving you at all are helping you in any way, shape, or form, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. There goes Kirk Cousins. There goes Jamal Williams. Would have loved for Jamal Williams to fall to me. He would have been a phenomenal handcuff to Alvin Kamara. I didn't want to pick him too high. Speaking of handcuffs, I might get Rashad Penny. I'm not getting Rashad Penny. There he goes. Just 2 running backs. We kind of sat back on them anyway. We went 0 RB for this one. There's kind of a debate between Deontay Foreman and Rashawn Johnson, who's going to take over the running back 2 spot. No debate on who the running back 2 in Seattle is, and they drafted him in the 2nd round, so I'm cool with this. And Tyler Higbee in the 11th round after being top 10 once again in an offense that outside of Cooper Kupp, who has been getting hurt about the same amount of times as he hasn't been. It's been 50-50. That screams opportunity for me. So we'll go early tight end for some possible trade leverage. No problem, Matt. So many players. I'll try to trim it down. No problem at all. Folks, it's subtle, but I do like to wait until the second to last round to take a kicker. I think you've got to take advantage of as many skill position players as possible before you go to something as obsolete as a position that's going to get you anywhere from 6 to 10 points on a good day. But I do second to last round just to get that little edge, because some people will just put it off until the end. my philosophy is this. If you're going to jump all the way up to the 11th or 12th round to get a kicker, I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to go and get somebody like Ezekiel Elliott, like KJ Osborne, like Paris Campbell, like Okonkwo, like Dulcich. But if you're going to wait until the last round, I'm just going to jump ahead of you by 1 round and get a Daniel Carlson as opposed to a Cairo Santos. Very subtle, but I tell myself it's effective. Love this pick. We've already got 2 tight ends. The question is, how much do they use Bijan, right? Especially in this day and age, there's got to be some sense of balance. They ran it a lot. Ritter, who ran a lot in college, didn't run too much, but I still feel like he'll be involved. Nonetheless, I think we take Algier here. Kadarius Toney going. Kadarius Toney, I've always had a bone to pick with because there goes Daniel Carlson in the 13th round because of the injuries. I just don't see that man playing a full season too often. Obviously, early in his career, but we had those issues in New York. We've had them in Kansas City. He is electric, especially on that offense where he's now projected as the wide receiver 1 for Patrick Mahomes. He could have a phenomenal year. There was Marvin Mims. But not the biggest fan of someone who just can't stay on the field. I'm a fan of availability. Are they out there and healthy? Opportunity. Are they getting targets? Are they getting touches? And then productivity. What are they doing with those opportunities? Are they efficient? We are cruising. This is going to be such an interesting offense, but I think they get a lot of plays off. And if anything, this guy at least gives me trade leverage. I don't know if there would be a time in this league where I am starting Zay Jones. I would at least hope not, in terms of the amount of injuries that would have to happen to push my hand. Let's go get ourselves Tank. But it's good to have a name like that, who's had some decent years, who's been around the top 50. Not bad. Jason, good to see you in here, Jason. Hope you're doing well. Just answering a few questions here during the second of 2 mock drafts. And Jason, I did just announce this. I am doing a subscriber draft, and the twist is that is the team where I am drafting the worst possible team. I am drafting all backups. I will maybe allow myself 1 starter, and I have to try and get into the playoffs through trades, through free agency, and through a ton of research. So Jason, if you want to join that league, it is standard 12-team PPR. 12-team standard PPR, excuse me, and we'll be drafting in the next week, and I have 2 open spots left. We have 10 of 12 slots filled. So, Jason, if you want to, or if anyone here wants to join that league where you've got to beat someone who's drafting a ton of backups, it is free, let me know. Matt, we've got Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, CMC, Deebo Samuel, JSN. He should be fine with the injury. Hawkinson, Monty, Dotson. 1 second, let me just get this last one. I actually took kicker last. And this is why it kind of hurts, right? That's why I typically do it second to last, but not a bad team overall. All right, Matt, let's look at your team. Lamar, CMC, Austin Eckler, Deebo Samuel, JSN, TJ Hawkinson, David Montgomery, Jahan Dotson. On the bench, we've got the handcuff in Zach Charbonnet, Jameson Williams after his suspension, Jonathan Mingo, Allen Lazard, Alec Pierce, Sky Moore, and EM. Okay. Lamar, phenomenal. People have been ripping on me for where I put him in the preseason fantasy quarterback standings. It's just because of injury. Lamar has missed 10 games over the course of the last 2 years, which is actually more than Tua. But if Lamar's healthy, we're fine, right? We are absolutely fine. If Rashad Bateman's healthy, we are extra fine. If Zay Flowers ends up being what we think he's going to be, we are very fine, along with Mark Andrews, Christian McCaffrey, and Austin Eckler. Holy cow. Matt, holy cow. You have the 2 best pass-catching backs in the entire league by a country mile. Deebo Samuel, he's only 27, but he does have to compete with Christian McCaffrey for some of those carries and with Brandon Ayuk, who was the main guy last season and has gotten better each and every year through his career so far. He's 3 years in, going into year 4, right into his prime. JSN, we should be fine. in terms of him taking over the wide receiver 2 spot on top of an aging Tyler Lockett, who is north of 30. We just need him to recover from those injuries. TJ Hawkinson, you have an elite level wide receiver and a phenomenal offense wide receiver, an elite level tight end who sometimes puts up wide receiver numbers. Dave Montgomery, we'll see how good of a handcuff he is to Jahmyr Gibbs. We know what he has in terms of pass catching upside. Jahan Dotson took off the second half of last year. Charbonnet was picked in the second round and should complement Kenneth Walker III pretty well, because Kenneth Walker III didn't catch a whole lot of balls last season. Jamison Williams, we know the raw talent he is. I'm cool with the risk, especially if you want to use him as trade bait once he comes off of the suspension. Jonathan Mingo, fine with Allen Lazard. We've got some chemistry there. I could see 500 plus yards outside of Garrett Wilson. Not a whole lot of competition there for targets. Alec Pierce, we had a couple of explosive games from him. The question is going to be in terms of pass output. What are we going to get from Anthony Richardson? But fine with the chance you're taking there. Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster is out. Sky Moore up 1 in the depth chart. Cool with that. And you'll have to tell me who EM is. We'll mix and match bench and starters, I assume. Yeah, you've got 2. That's for Dynasty, absolutely. Matt, just let me know who... Oh, Elijah Moore. I'm fine with Elijah Moore in his new home. He was not doing very well in New York. I mean, the quarterback room was poor. He gets an upgrade with Deshaun Watson, who is coming off of the worst year of his career, even projecting that over the course of an entire year. So that didn't go great. But... yeah, Matt, I like the team a lot. I think it's super deep. The fact that you have Christian McCaffrey and Austin Eckler and a top 10 quarterback with rushing upside, if he can stay healthy in Lamar Jackson, is phenomenal. You've got a top 5 tight end over the course of the last couple of years. You've got some handcuffs on the bench. Just a phenomenal team, top to bottom, really, Matt. I'm excited for you. Brian, is Jamal Williams and Zeke worthy of late-round picks, PPR? Brian, Jamal Williams, I feel like especially is. Oh, Elijah Mitchell. Okay. He was available late. I took him on a fly. Look, CMC's been hurt a couple of times. We could have Elijah Mitchell get some action. And if that happens, then Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel will both see an increase in output. So, Matt, I'm fine with that, actually. So, Brian was saying, is Jamal Williams and Zeke worthy of late-round picks? Jamal Williams specifically, Brian, I feel like is. If you look at the course of... Look what he did last year. 17 rushing touchdowns. He set a Lions record. I'm fine with that. You know he wasn't brought in to New Orleans for efficiency. He was right around 4.1, 4.2 yards per carry, middle of the road. But he's going to be a starting running back weeks 1, 2, and 3 with Alvin Kamara suspended. Jamal Williams is definitely worth it. Ezekiel Elliott, 12 touchdowns last season, even though Tony Pollard was far and away the better back. There's opportunity there, but I feel like Jamal Williams has the higher ceiling, Brian, just because he's going to be RB1 in New Orleans for the first 3 weeks. I understand they are both red zone hounds, but they don't push the needle otherwise. Yeah, Brian, that's really it. But in the first 3 weeks, Jamal Williams getting the majority of those rushes, presumably, with Alvin Kamara suspended. I think he moves the needle a tiny bit and helps you start out 2-1 as opposed to 1-2. Could, at least. He could make the difference. Matt, that was a dope breakdown. Of course, man. I'm being as thorough as I possibly can to try and help all of you out, so I hope you enjoy, any insight I can provide. Folks, again, we are doing a subscriber draft. In the comments section below, let me know if you want to join. It's free. I draft a ton of backups and try and beat you. That's all there is to it. We draft in the next week or so 10 of 12 teams. 10 of 12 team slots are filled at the moment. So Matt, Brian, if you guys want to join, you could be 11 and 12. And then also took my boy Tank Dell because that's my team, unfortunately. Matt, I am a Bears fan, so I hear you. I hear you 100% in terms of just being at the bottom of the barrel. Tank Dell's looked phenomenal in preseason. Doesn't hurt to take a chance. There's going to be opportunity on offense there, right? I mean, let's not act like Robert Woods is going to be the star of the show. So I don't hate it at all, Matt. That should be fine. But folks, I think that is all I have. A pair of mock drafts. Hopefully I answered your questions. Again, if you got any value out of this live stream at all, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Also, make sure you check out the video we just released a few hours ago today on 5 wide receivers you should not be drafting based on their value. Based on their ADP, you could choose plenty of other options in that range, and I break it all down in just 7.5 minutes. Definitely in for this draft. Should be fun. Brian, awesome. I've got you in there. Folks, thank you all so much for the support, and we will see you in the next one.